4,000 years ago, two cities rose like jewels in the crown of ancient civilization, so rich that their inhabitants literally walked on black gold with every step, so prosperous that when Abraham saw them from afar, he thought, "There is paradise on earth." These advanced metropolises were so sophisticated that even today archaeologists remain astonished by the discoveries that emerge from beneath the soil millennia later. Yet on a single fateful morning, everything turned to ash. Fire fell from the sky like torrential rain, and where lush gardens once rivaled the finest orchards in the world, only salt and utter desolation remained. How did two of the wealthiest cities of the ancient world simply vanish from the map, becoming a mystery that transcends generations? And what was so extraordinary about life within them that it still captures the curiosity of scholars and adventurers today? Genesis 13:10 records something remarkable. When Lot lifted up his eyes, he saw that the entire plain of the Jordan was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. But this comparison is not poetic exaggeration. It is a factual description. Archaeologists have discovered that the valley where Sodom and Gomorrah stood was literally one of the most fertile places on earth 4,000 years ago. The region possessed something that turned barren land into gold, abundant water and mineral-rich soil that nourished luxuriant crops. Recent research shows that the Jordan Valley received water from multiple sources: underground rivers that surged like veins of the earth, natural springs that never ran dry, and regular rainfall that created a unique and favorable microclimate. It was as if nature itself had conspired to make that region a perpetual garden, where fruits and grains grew in abundance with little effort. But the true wealth came from something even more valuable than gold or harvests: bitumen. Genesis 14:10 mentions the bitumen pits in the region, and historians explain that this black, sticky substance was the petroleum of antiquity. Egyptians paid fortunes for it to embalm their pharaohs. Mesopotamian builders needed it to waterproof the bricks of palaces and temples, and merchants transported bitumen hundreds of kilometers along dangerous trade routes. Whoever controlled the pits controlled an inexhaustible source of wealth that fueled empires. Tall El Hammam, an archaeological site many researchers believe to be the original location of Sodom, reveals impressive structures that tell the story of an advanced civilization. 10-meter-high walls protected the city, complex gates with multiple security chambers controlled access, and a sophisticated storage system suggests large-scale trade connecting continents. Dr. Stephen Collins, who leads the excavations, uncovered compelling evidence that the city controlled strategic trade routes between Mesopotamia and Egypt, positioning itself as a commercial hub of global importance. Salt was also a source of incalculable wealth. The Dead Sea, with its unique saline waters, produced salt of exceptional quality, more valuable than gold in many regions. Essential for preserving food in an age without refrigeration, entire caravans traveled from distant lands, crossing deserts and mountains, just to obtain this white gold that was worth its weight in silver in the most remote cities. The salt trade was so profitable that it created routes parallel to those of bitumen, forming a dual economic network that enriched the region even further. Studies of ancient agriculture reveal that the valley's soil, enriched with minerals and irrigated by multiple water sources, produced harvests 3 times greater than those of other fertile regions of the ancient world. Golden wheat, robust barley, succulent dates, and sweet grapes grew with almost supernatural ease, as if the land itself were conspiring in favor of its inhabitants. There was such abundance that Lot did not hesitate when Abraham offered him the choice of the most promising land. His eyes saw what appeared to be the most prosperous region in the known world, a terrestrial paradise where nature and geography conspired to guarantee perpetual wealth. But all that wealth produced something unexpected and dark. When everything comes without effort, when the land yields on its own, and money gushes from the ground like pure water, what happens to human character? Ezekiel 16:49 offers a disturbing clue about what extreme prosperity can do to a society. And that is exactly what began to corrupt Sodom and Gomorrah from within, turning blessing into curse. What happens when a society has so much money that no one needs to work anymore? Ezekiel 16:49 answers this question in a direct and unsettling way. The prophet identifies three characteristics that define Sodom: pride, abundance of food, and an excess of idleness. These were not empty words or poetic exaggerations. They were the precise diagnosis of a civilization that had everything, yet lost its humanity in the process. Studies of ancient societies show that extreme abundance creates a predictable and dangerous pattern. Historians have documented this phenomenon across many cultures throughout history. When basic resources become endlessly available, work loses its intrinsic value, gratitude disappears, and something dangerous emerges, the feeling of natural superiority, as if wealth were an inherent trait rather than a gift. In Sodom and Gomorrah, the abundance of food was no exaggeration. It is an archaeologically proven reality. Excavations reveal massive storehouses capable of holding grain for years, underground silos carved into solid rock, storage chambers with sophisticated ventilation systems, and compelling evidence that there was enough food to sustain populations far larger than those cities actually had. But when food is guaranteed for generations, something changes in the collective psychology. Anthropologists have studied this phenomenon in both modern and ancient societies. Extreme food security generates ritualized waste. Throwing food away becomes a symbol of power and status. Unnecessary banquets become a daily routine, where extravagance replaces necessity and celebration turns into excess. The abundance of idleness was even more revealing. In most ancient cultures, everyone worked to survive. Shepherds tended flocks, farmers planted grain, artisans produced essential tools. But in Sodom, the automatic wealth from bitumen pits and the salt trade created a class of people who literally did nothing productive. Cuneiform texts from contemporary Mesopotamian civilizations describe similar societies in which idleness gave rise to dangerous behavioral vices. When there is no purpose in daily life, when there are no challenges to overcome, boredom becomes a destructive force that corrupts the collective soul, turning wealth into a deadly trap. People with unlimited time and limitless money begin to seek ever more extreme forms of entertainment, where boredom turns into addiction and extravagance becomes the only way to feel something. And that is where the third element emerged: pride, an arrogance that corrupts the soul. Ezekiel uses a Hebrew word that means arrogant pride, the sense of superiority born in those who have never faced real hardship, who live inside a bubble where the problems of others are mere irrelevant details. It was the kind of arrogance that makes someone look at a hungry foreigner and think, "That's not my problem, it doesn't concern me." But something even worse was growing in those prosperous cities, something Ezekiel mentions immediately afterward, and that explains why God considered the situation intolerable. Because when a society stops helping those in need, it reveals that it has lost something essential to human nature: empathy, compassion, the solidarity that binds us together as human beings. And it was precisely this coldness toward the needy that sealed the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah. How did one of the greatest concentrations of wealth in the ancient world become synonymous with cruelty? The answer lies in the second part of Ezekiel 16:49, where the prophet reveals the sin that truly condemned Sodom. She did not strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. Translated directly from the Hebrew, this means they had abundant resources to help, but deliberately chose not to, turning kindness into weakness and indifference into virtue. In the ancient Near East, hospitality was not merely courtesy, it was a matter of survival, a sacred code that bound peoples together and ensured the continuity of trade routes. The Code of Hammurabi, contemporary with the time of Abraham, established specific laws about protecting foreigners and travelers, considering the refusal to help a crime against the entire community. Mesopotamian cuneiform tablets record that denying food to the hungry or shelter to a traveler was considered such a grave offense that it brought punishment upon the whole city. But Sodom and Gomorrah reversed this ancient tradition, creating a system in which helping the poor was seen as weakness, and the display of wealth became the highest social priority. When everyone competes to display who possesses the greatest luxury, giving something to those who cannot repay breaks the logic of status and supremacy. Archaeological discoveries at Tel el-Hammam reveal compelling evidence of this distorted mindset. Houses with elaborate inward-facing courtyards, high walls separating properties, and a complete absence of communal spaces where the needy could seek help. Urban architecture was designed for social isolation, not for community. Each family lived like an island in a sea of wealth, yet surrounded by loneliness. Genesis 19:9 records a revealing sentence shouted at Lot by the men of Sodom: "Stand back. This fellow came here as an outsider, and now he wants to judge us." This violent reaction against someone who tried to defend foreigners shows how the society had become hostile to any form of protection for the vulnerable, where justice became a crime and cruelty became the norm. Historians have identified a dark pattern in extremely prosperous ancient societies. The greater the internal inequality, the greater the cruelty toward outsiders. In Sodom, excessive wealth created a social bubble in which the rich stopped seeing the poor as fellow human beings, and wealth became a shield against humanity itself. Later rabbinic texts preserved oral traditions describing how Sodom's judicial system supposedly functioned, laws that protected the powerful and punished anyone who dared to challenge the status quo of indifference. According to these historical sources, including rabbinic traditions and contemporary cuneiform tablets, there were draconian laws that punished anyone who gave alms and judges who confiscated the property of anyone caught helping the needy. If these traditions reflect historical reality, they perfectly explain why Ezekiel highlighted this specific sin as the heart of Sodom's corruption. But what is most disturbing is that Genesis 19:4 shows how this coldness toward the needy evolved into something even worse: active violence against defenseless foreigners. Indifference was not the end of corruption, it was only the first step. When a culture stops protecting its vulnerable, it is only a matter of time before it begins to attack them deliberately. Hospitality, a pillar of ancient civilization, was perverted into violence, representing the total corruption of a foundational value. It was the clear sign that Sodom and Gomorrah had crossed an irreversible line, a point of no return. And that is why, despite possessing all the wealth in the world, those cities were living their final days without realizing it. Lot chose to sit at the city gate every day. Genesis 19:1 mentions this detail without explanation. But to understand life in Sodom, we must decipher what it truly meant. The gate was not a simple entrance, it was the center of power for the entire region. Mesopotamian legal codes from the time of Abraham, such as the laws of Eshnunna, established that city gates functioned as official courts where elders and leaders gathered to judge disputes, formalize commercial contracts, and make decisions affecting the entire population. Sitting at the gate meant actively participating in local governance, exercising authority, and influencing the destiny of the city. But Sodom had something unique that set it apart from other cities: its strategic geographical position. The trade routes connecting powerful Mesopotamia to wealthy Egypt passed inevitably through the Jordan Valley. Controlling these vital corridors meant taxing every caravan, regulating every transaction, and profiting from all international trade in the region. Cuneiform tablets found in Mari, a city contemporary with Sodom, document extensive trade networks that included the cities of the Jordan Valley. Merchants transported fine textiles, precious metals, exotic spices, and agricultural products along these routes for hundreds of kilometers. Cities that controlled strategic points like Sodom charged substantial fees for protection and services, enriching themselves from the constant flow of other people's wealth. Genesis 19:1 also mentions that there was a public square in the city, indicating an organized public space for commercial activity. Excavations at Bronze Age sites reveal paved plazas adjacent to complex city gates designed to accommodate large crowds on market days. Sodom's economic system depended on this constant and vibrant commercial activity. Unlike societies based solely on agriculture or pastoralism, these cities developed a diversified and sophisticated urban economy. Local artisans produced high-quality manufactured goods, merchants offered advanced financial services, and administrators collected taxes and organized the city's infrastructure. Luke 17:28 confirms that this commercial life remained active until the very end, with Jesus specifying that people were buying and selling as part of normal daily routine. This was not a stagnant or declining economy. It was a prosperous society operating at full capacity until its final moments. If you believe that God uses history to teach us about the dangers of prosperity without character, comment, "Wealth without God is empty." Yet all this economic success masked a fundamental problem. Prosperity, which should be a blessing, can become a moral curse. Luke 17:28 preserves a specific description of Sodom's final moments, just as it was in the days of Lot. They were eating and drinking, buying and selling, planting and building. Jesus did not choose these words randomly. Each verb represents a different aspect of a society functioning normally until seconds before total destruction. The word planting reveals something important about the local economy. Sodom was not merely a commercial city, it was an active and prosperous agricultural center. Genesis 13:10 explains why. The valley was well watered like the garden of the Lord. Advanced irrigation systems harnessed abundant water to produce exceptional harvests in a naturally arid region. Paleobotanical studies in the Dead Sea area confirm that 4,000 years ago the region supported intensive agriculture, with fossilized pollen indicating the cultivation of cereals, legumes and fruit trees on a commercial scale. Mineral-rich soil produced yields higher than those of neighboring regions, explaining why Lot considered the valley more attractive than other available lands, and building suggests active construction and continuous ambitious urban planning. Unlike declining societies, Sodom invested heavily in infrastructure, constructing sophisticated irrigation systems, imposing defensive walls, and monumental public buildings. But the most revealing verb in Luke's description is drinking. It does not refer merely to water or ordinary beverages. In biblical contexts, this word often indicates the consumption of alcohol as part of elaborate social celebrations. Prosperous societies developed sophisticated entertainment cultures, including regular festivals and public banquets that displayed the city's collective wealth. Eating complements this image of food abundance, where the abundance of bread, mentioned by Ezekiel as a defining trait of Sodom, became visible on tables filled with delicacies. Luke confirms that this abundance continued until the final moment, with no signs of scarcity, famine, or impending economic crisis. Buying and selling indicates normal commercial activity, markets operating at full capacity, transactions being completed, and contracts being signed daily. Economic life continued uninterrupted, with no symptoms of social instability, portraying a society that appeared to have achieved stable and lasting prosperity. Luke 17:29 then marks the abrupt transition that would have shocked any observer. But on the day Lot left Sodom, fire and sulfur rained down from heaven and destroyed them all. The conjunction "but" emphasizes the startling contrast between total normality and instant destruction. There was no transition period, no prolonged warnings, no gradual decline. This normalcy until the very end explains why the destruction was so sudden and incomprehensible to its inhabitants. The contrast is deliberate in the biblical narrative. Jesus used Sodom as a powerful example of how divine judgment can interrupt seemingly stable and prosperous life without prior warning. The fundamental lesson is not about external signs or predictions, but about internal moral conditions that can render societies vulnerable, regardless of their material wealth or appearance of success. Genesis 19:24 records one of the most dramatic events of the Old Testament using surprisingly technical language. Then the Lord rained down sulfur and fire from the Lord out of the heavens upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah. The repetition of the Lord and the specific phrase from the heavens are not literary redundancy, but an emphasis that something extraordinary occurred in Earth's atmosphere on that specific day, something that went beyond what any known natural phenomenon could produce. Modern geological evidence confirms that something catastrophic truly occurred in the Dead Sea region approximately 4,000 years ago. Dr. Stephen Collins, the archaeologist leading excavations at Tel el-Hammam, discovered a destruction layer that covers the entire urban area with striking uniformity. This is not evidence of warfare or an ordinary fire, but something geologically unique, a layer of ash and debris suggesting extreme heat applied instantaneously over a vast area, as if the very air itself had become combustible. Laboratory analyses of samples from the site revealed temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Celsius, heat intense enough to vitrify pottery, melt bricks, and turn limestone into gypsum. These findings point to exposure to temperatures far beyond what any normal fire could generate. Dr. Collins documents that the destruction was so severe that the city remained uninhabited for more than 600 years after the event, an unprecedented period of abandonment in the region. Genesis 19:26 mentions that Lot's wife was turned into a pillar of salt. Geologists explain that the region contains massive salt deposits due to the evaporation of the Dead Sea over millennia, where saline water solidifies into striking mineral formations. In events of extreme heat, salt crystals can form rapidly around organic matter, creating preserved structures that archaeologists call saline mummification, a process that can transform bodies into salt-like statues capable of enduring for millennia. If you believe that God still acts in history today as he did in Sodom, comment, "The Lord is righteous in all that he does." Regardless of the specific mechanism, scientific data confirms that something extraordinary devastated the region completely in a very brief period, something that transcended any known natural phenomenon. The transformation was so radical that it permanently altered the local geography. What was once a fertile valley became a barren, salt-covered desert. This image of total devastation marks the end of two of the most prosperous cities of the ancient world, which vanished from history within hours, leaving behind only salt, ashes, and biblical memories of what life was like 4,000 years ago in the most fertile valley on earth. The contrast between the lost paradise and the present-day wasteland is so striking that modern archaeologists still wonder how such an advanced civilization could have been completely erased from the face of the earth. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah is not merely a biblical account, but an eternal warning about what happens when wealth without character corrupts a society. What began as abundance and prosperity ended in total destruction, showing that true wealth is not found in material possessions, but in justice, compassion, and the moral values that sustain a civilization. The region that once produced black gold and white gold, that fed nations and enriched empires, became a silent reminder that moral decay can be more devastating than any natural catastrophe. If you would like to learn more about what life was like in Sodom and Gomorrah during those times, we have an exclusive film that explores the city and its secrets in detail. I leave the recommendation here for you to watch next. May God bless you, and I'll see you soon.